Welcome to Taft Heritage. This is the weekly program on the air at the same time as Taft Union High School is in session, because the work being done behind the scenes are students in Mr. Robert Lindbergh's TV production classes. This happens to be number 138 in the 6th year of our series. What we try to do is explore Taft's history and its heritage as told by people who can tell us how it was going through Taft High School, the various schools in Taft, and their experiences growing up in this area. And we do this by interviewing people that can tell us these stories, which are videotaped and put in the West Kern Oil Museum as an oral history of our area. It's a cooperative effort between the Taft Union High School and the West Kern Oil Museum. As I said, the tapes are all kept at the local museum. I have a special guest with me today, somebody that I've known for, 45, 50 years.
Yes.
Assemblyman Trice Harvey, former Assemblyman, former County Supervisor, former quarterback for Taft High School, Wildcats, former quarterback for the Taft College Cougars. What can I say? Class of 55.
Yes, class of 55.
Elk Hills 51. Taft College 57. And
The brain. Yeah, that's your label. Yes, I'll never forget it.
Trice, I had you in class, and we had a good time.
Yes, we did.
I think I gave you a B.
You know, I earned a B. I didn't get many of those.
But I always used to say, Trice.
I think it's the only B I got that year. That's why you nicknamed me the brain. It's been ever since. It's fun.
You mean in high school?
Yeah, well, I made the honor roll one semester.
Okay.
I got an A in applied electricity from Noah Curdy, my football coach.
Well, we've been doing this now since, and I know that I've met you on the highway. You go by and honk and go.
Always. And there's two other things. I want to throw one in if I may.
Go ahead.
And I have the same as, God rest his soul, Sugar, he had a nickname for everybody. He always called me the Dumb Okie. There's a story behind that, but he called me the Dumb Okie. And I always called him Chrome Dome. But when I'd go to football games, I'd be up in the stand, he'd come in and say, "Hey, Chrome Dome." He'd turn and look at me, couldn't see. He said, "Where are you, you dumb Okie?" So I was the Dumb Okie, but him and Brain by you. I like the Brain better.
Okay. Now, what did Sugar do? I mean, you got to tell these people that are watching, who is Hillman Sugar?
Yeah, you know the name. I do, Hillman. Very few people
right.
know me. Sugar. He was in the athletic department at gym. He took care of all the equipment, helped with the equipment, and then gym, and checked out stuff and checked in for all us athletes. He's a great man, and I don't know anybody that played the athletics of anywhere in Taft High School that didn't have a nickname from Sugar. Sugar nicknamed everybody. He was loved by everybody.
He was a very nice guy.
He was well loved. Great person.
Well, let's get back to you now. Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Paragould, Arkansas, July the 15th, 1936.
1936.
A good year.
You're married.
Been married most of my life, yes.
And your wife's name?
Jackie Stussy. Jackie was born here in Taft, went through the elementary schools, and I met her in high school. And then those days, nobody knew, except in Taft, they knew what a Stussy was. Everywhere else, they didn't know if it's Stussy and all. But now that Stussy's an important name on the sports scene with T-shirts and hats, everybody can say Stussy. In our days, they didn't know what it was.
Where did you meet her? Here on campus?
Here on campus?
I presume it was
yes.
on campus.
Yes, I was a sophomore here, and she was a freshman, and we met, and I was just mesmerized by her.
What year in school were you at that time?
I was a sophomore, and Jackie was a freshman.
But you waited until after you got out of high school before you got married?
Yeah,
Before she was out of high school?
Yeah, before she was accepted. Yeah, I graduated in June from high school in '55. We got married in August the 5th in '55. Well, she just finished her junior year, so I was at Taft College playing sports, and the next year she went through her senior year here, so she had to do her senior year in high school while we were married, and I was in junior college here.
Whereabouts on campus did you see her, did you say?
I saw her first at her locker, and she looked so lovely there, Pete. That was the first attraction.
Did you have a class together?
Yes, we had a general science class, and thank God Jackie was a student, a gold seal bearer with a diploma, CSF every semester. Now, that's where I first heard about the honor roll. I hadn't been on it, but I was a good athlete. But that's in general science. She was a lot of help to me. She was a freshman, I'm a sophomore, but she
kind of carried you through the course.
Yeah. God bless her, she did. Yeah.
We have a picture that you brought, and I'd like to show that now on camera 1. We're going to show this picture of Trice and his bride, Jackie Stussy. Nice young couple. Where was this picture taken, Trice?
August 5th, 1955, right up here at 7th and North Street, the First Christian Church. We were married in the First Christian Church, 7th and North Street.
Okay. I presume she's working today?
Yes, she has Bravo bookkeeping business. She has her own bookkeeping business.
Oh, really?
About 15 years
Okay.
in bookkeeping business. Yeah.
So, you have children?
Adults. My daughter, Dinah, this last month was 40. She's been married about 13 years. I have a granddaughter named Andrea Marquez from Dinah. Then Nick, he just turned 2 months ago 36. I have TJ Trice Jr., who will be 13 Sunday, and his sister Taryn, who will be 10 on our anniversary, August the 5th. That's the family.
Well, we have a picture here of the kids growing, and we'll show that now. And you kind of point to who these people are here. Of course, you're in the back in the middle.
Yeah, this is Raul Marquez, and he's married my daughter Dinah.
All right.
Of course, this is me and my boss Jackie, and this is my son Trice Nicholas over here. We call him Nick Nestle, and his wife. She about to have TJ, so that was over 13 years ago also.
Okay, very nice. And we have one more picture here. We might show it right now. This is 4 generations of the Harvey family.
Yeah, that's my father Delbert, then me, then my son to the left of me, Nick, and then TJ right there. And my father, Delbert, he's 84 years old now, living in Blackwell, Oklahoma.
Okay. Now, you mentioned your father. His name was Delbert. He's 84 years old. Now, where was he born?
Missouri. Arkansas. He was born in Arkansas.
Do you know his birthday? Or?
He's going to be in November, coming around, he'll be 85. November.
And he lives in Oklahoma now?
Blackwell, Oklahoma.
Okay. And your mother was who?
Earlene Stone. Since she was born in Missouri, she came to Arkansas to see some relatives, and they met and got married, and that's how that all happened. My mother passed away 87, a year right after I was elected to the State Assembly. She passed away.
Well, where did they meet?
Well, my mother came from Missouri to visit some relatives in Arkansas, and that's where they met, and then from that they fell in love and got married.
Well, they got married before your father went into the service.
Yes. Matter of fact, my brother had been born. He's 3.5 years older than I, and I had been born, and then he went into the service. I think I was about 2.5 years old or so when my dad.
Then, after the service, what happened?
Well, Dad came home and so did my uncle, who was in the Navy, and had been sending us little postcards from San Diego as they got in there, and all these beautiful beaches and palm trees. So California's a place to be. So my grandparents and my aunts and uncles and all of us, we all came to California. Ended up in Buttonwillow, where they had good cotton to pick.
You had cars to drive out in, or how did you get out here?
We had old flathead Fords, you know.
Flathead Fords?
Well, actually, we came in a 34 Ford sedan, and we had a 34 Ford pickup, and somebody, I forget which one, had a 39 sedan Ford.
So you packed all the belongings and came out?
Yes.
But your father was here, or did he help drive you all out?
They came back, and gathered us all up, and we all drove out together.
Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about Jackie's parents. Tell us about her parents.
Her mother and father have passed away now, but anyway, going back, her father was Jake Stussy. Jake Stussy worked for the Honolulu Oil Company back in the olden days. So somewhere right after 38 thereabouts, he got unfortunately wrapped up in a cable on a rig, and it just wrapped him up and crushed him, and he died from that. So Jackie was raised by a stepfather at that, Ralph Arnold, who was well known around town here for years. And so Ralph Arnold raised her, and therefore that put she and Norma Arnold, stepsister, through high school, were living together, and we all became friends back those days. And Ralph Arnold passed away. Time escapes my age, about 3 or 4 years ago. Unfortunately, Ralph was a great man. And
Well, you came to Buttonwillow. Why did you come to Buttonwillow?
Well, because we were sharecroppers in Arkansas. In Arkansas, it's dry farming. You got to wait for rain and all. It didn't do too good, and so it wasn't going real well. And we raised some peanuts. My grandparents did, where I was living at the time of the war, and some broom corn. But it wasn't going good, so we all decided to come to California, where they had good cotton. You was going to be cotton because you irrigated. You didn't have to depend on Mother Nature. It was a guaranteed crop each year, and you could make a living.
So what grade did you start when you got to Buttonwillow?
I think I started second grade, the end of second grade. I was in January, so I think I was right in the middle of second grade.
And where did you live?
We lived first we lived at the Houtzen Camp number 13, they call it. We lived at Houtzen Camp first in the labor camps.
Well, could you describe a labor camp? What's a labor camp?
Well, the labor camp, they had usually what we call a front row housing, which would be something that was a little better. There was really a house. And then all those behind would be some sort of shack and boxcars. We lived in the boxcar. We didn't live front row. So we used community toilets and showers. We all used the same showers and community toilets.
Were the boxcars partitioned, or was it just one family to a boxcar?
One family to a boxcar. No protections. They were too small. And we just had a hole drilled in with a light deal dropped in there. We had light. That's how we had it.
You had lights.
Yeah.
And washing was done someplace else.
Yeah, out where you had the community toilet and showers, they had some stationary tubs underneath the layer out there. You could wash your clothes by hand, and all that. No, it wasn't a laundromat. You washed by hand and hung them out on lines.
What kind of wages was your father getting back in those days?
In that time, about 45. If you were picking cotton, you'd get about...
You picked what?
If you're picking cotton, you'd get about... I think in those 95 cents a hundred. If you worked out in the field, farm labor, somewhere around 50 cents an hour.
Was he able to work the year round, or just when?
You worked pretty steady staying there unless it was rainy. You couldn't get in the fields. Yes, there was times you couldn't work. Like if you had rain, those days used to rain.
So that was a labor camp.
Mm-hmm. But I also lived in the Marisol Ranch, which were the Berkeley brothers. But the work was the same and the conditions were the same.
Okay. So you started school in Buttonwillow Elementary. Now, how long did you stay there?
Till about the last 90 days of the 8th grade. Then my dad moved over to the Palm Farm to work for Palm Farm at that time, which was a Banducci's. And that put us into the town area, which put us, by the way, into Taft High School District out there at Palm, as opposed to KC. Kern County High in those days, everybody but don't know what there, which is now Batesville High. And so that put us in the Taft District. That's how I ended up here.
So you ended up in Tubman. Where did you live there?
Well, after we moved away from the Palm Farm labor camp, the last couple of years, in the 8th grade, we lived in this little shack house in Tubman.
Well, when did you graduate from Tubman then?
That would have been June of 51 from Elk Hill School, yes.
So you really lived in Tubman until you finished high school?
Yes, I went to Taft High School, and everybody assumed I'm Taft. Well, I lived in Tubman, but I went to high school here.
So how did you get to town? I mean, was a bus coming out there to pick you up?
They had a bus, but it didn't work well for me because I played football, basketball, and baseball. We had no way to get home. I had to hitchhike. And in those days, you could hitchhike and no problem. That was before things were bad. So I would sometimes take the bus to school, and then I'd hitchhike home. But after my sophomore year, you get a license, and I chopped cotton all summer and got enough to buy a 38 Ford. So I'd drive my car either 3 miles to Tubman, the water district is still there, and park it, and hitchhike into town, and hitchhike back in that and drive the 3 miles. I'd drive through Elk Hills to what was called a 9-mile station now, which is roughly where you enter Elk Hills. If you turn right down there, it'd be, and then I'd park the car there sometime, and then hitchhike back and drive the 3 miles into Tubman.
Well, how old were you to be able to drive a car and get a license?
You could get a learner's permit to work at 15 and a half in those days.
On a farm?
Yeah, well, if you just got a learner's permit and had a job, they'd give it to you. If you had a job.
So you had a car?
Yeah, I had a car because I had a job each summer. Yeah.
So you bought a car? Huh?
Yes, I did, a 38 Ford.
Well, what do you remember about growing up in Buttonwillow? What was it like?
Well, I was happy. We were very poor in the labor camp. There wasn't much to be happy about as far as the amenities. But where I was, most of the kids going to school there were the farm laborers. We were all around. We didn't know we were poor. We were happy. I mean, I don't have no sad memories. We were just poor, but we were happy.
So you had jobs to do, I presume, right?
Yes.
What kind of jobs did you have?
Well, my mother, we went to shower. She was pretty strict, thank God. We built these little racks you could stand on. Some people in the labor camps weren't too clean or sanitary, as far as using the facilities and how they took care of them. There was a mess out there. So our responsibility was always, before we go shower, Mother would go out and check and make us clean things, bring our own little deal to stand on. And we didn't have, we had refuse, but they hauled the refuse for the camp, the employees did, so we wouldn't like taking the garbage out and getting it somewhere. We just took it out to a booth.
You worked on the farms too?
Yeah, we worked. We didn't have much housework. There's not much housework to do in a boxcar.
I take it you didn't have refrigerators?
No. We had an ice box.
The bathroom we know is community type?
You had to walk a ways to get to the bathroom and take a shower. Yeah.
You didn't have hair dryers and things like that?
No. No, we didn't have any of those things.
Your father worked for Mobil Oil eventually,
yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And you worked?
Yes.
What kind of work did you do?
Well, before I got very old, we picked cotton. We'd go out and pick cotton on the weekends. When you're little, you pick cotton because everybody could pick some. So you always pick cotton. You made some money, so we picked cotton. But on my first real job, when I graduated in the 8th grade that summer, I chopped cotton in the lake bottom. I chopped cotton all summer to make the money, to try to put the money together to get me a car, and I did the next year. But then I moved up, man. Next 3 summers, I got a job at Palm Farmers in the irrigating.
Irrigating?
Well, yeah, you got 90 cents an hour if you worked days 6 to 6, 7 days a week. But if you worked 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning, 7 days a week, you got 95 cents, a nickel more of working nights.
Did your mother have to work too?
My mother was always going to work. Most women in the labor camps worked all the time. My mother, she was going to chop cotton, but it was picking season. And she wanted to pick cotton, but it was chopping season. The season never got right for my mother. So she didn't do any farm work.
So she took care of the kids.
But she was, I got to say, she was a great cook, very, very nice, because we got a front row house when I was in 7th grade in Marisol Ranch. So we weren't a boss because my mother kept everything so clean. Not only us, but our little cabin, she kept things clean and sandy. So they did let us get a front row house.
So you had a car, you got a car, which was, did you mention the year?
38 Ford.
38 Ford, okay. And that got you around, and did you have another car eventually, or did that one wear out?
Well, I met George Lawrence, I think and Tom Sinclair.
George Lawrence was the manager of the Bank of America.
And Tom Sinclair, I met him on February the 22nd, 1952, what you call Airport Road, we call it, was the Honolulu Road. I met him there at 119 on Honolulu Road in the middle of the intersection with their 52 Plymouth, my 38 Ford. They totaled my 38 Ford. But everybody lived. That's how I met George Lawrence.
Now, what caused the accident?
It snowed, and I was collecting snow. And anybody around Steele was going to show Ed Turner at the 29G gas plant there, all this snow, knowing he'd sleep in. We were up early for righteous reasons. We were going to show them that the drips were making good too. You can say that now.
Okay, now you better explain what dripping is.
In the west side, I surely know what drip is.
I'm not sure these kids know.
Well, maybe I shouldn't tell my parents get mad with this. Anyway, I burned drip gas, and I let the parents explain it, and we were saving a few gallons to show Ed how much gas we'd got there, because drip gas makes better the colder weather, and we knew it was snowing, it'd be good.
You knew where the drips were then?
Yes, we did. we were proficient. And then when you're poor, you'd find out for sure.
So it was snowing and you heard.
And so I had a 38 Ford. These young people don't know, but it had mechanical brakes. They didn't have hydraulic brakes on Ford to 39. And so those mechanical brakes were little wires down, you pull them, they're wet. And we get to the intersection, and I started hitting the brakes, and it wasn't stopping, so I geared down to second gear on the floor, naturally. And I said to Steele, is anything coming around? And he turned, he said, no, and he turned and said, yes. Well, it's too late. I could have turned anywhere in the desert there, nothing's changed there. Had I known, but he told me too late. We pulled out in front of him.
So you made George Lewis.
They'd been out to golf in the new Plymouth that morning, but it's known so much they couldn't see the golf ball. That's before you had the colored ball, so.
So they were knocking the ball out of sight, huh?
Yeah, that's what happened. And then I had put a new short block engine from Sears and Roebuck in that 38. It was a good running. So I bought a 39 and put my engine in it, moving up.
So that's how you made George Lawrence.
Yes.
Did he ever remind you of that story?
Every time I saw him, most of my life. You know, I said, Trice, where's your car? I don't want to get near it. And I said, yeah. He was a great man.
Yes, he was. Well liked. Okay, you're in high school. Finally in high school. You were very active. Mm-hmm. Sports primarily.
Yes.
Football, basketball, and track.
Baseball.
Baseball.
I tried my freshman year baseball plus pole vaulting, but they got in the way of one of the track meets in Ballard, so I gave up the pole vaulting.
And you did a lot of studying?
I'm about to lie here today. No, I didn't do much, but I was a friendly person. And I didn't ditch school, you know, because I like coming to school.
You were a good student in my class. Yeah.
I showed up all the time.
After all, I gave you a
Yeah, I did, indeed, yeah.
So what are you looking back now? What was high school like to you?
High school to me, I've got to say, the most fun I ever had in my life was high school right here at Taft Union High School. I don't know these young people who are viewing this and doing this work together, if they know this. There's no better time in your life than a high school student that I can think of. It's the best years of your life.
You know, a lot of kids, they can't wait to get away, and then later on down the road they think about this, and they have to admit that was a pretty good time.
The night I graduated, on the stand, when I got my deal, flipped it over and came back up, and I'll admit this because I was great, was a good athlete, macho, but I actually cried. Because I realized then, and I used to think, why are these guys 21 years old? They can't even go to the youth center. They can't go to the rec hall. What do they do when you're when you get that old, you can't even go to the rec hall up there. So I was sad to graduate, but junior college worked well because I'd gotten married, and with Jackie, life was good. So, but I really loved high school and hated to leave it.
I always used to tell my counselees that when you go through that line, a little tear was going to let you down.
It did.
They'd never believe me.
And I stopped by the cafeteria here today to see the ladies there. Nobody's been there long enough to remember me. But my junior year and senior year, because we were poor, every noon I went out to spray. I washed dishes every noon here at Taft. It's the same cafeteria was there then. The difference is we had a jukebox and you got a TV, I see now. But I washed dishes every day for my lunch, my junior and senior year. That's how I earned my lunch over there.
Well, sports were very important to you. Why would you say, from your standpoint, why sports were of great interest to you?
Well, sports, you get so much fun out of, number one. And number two, you get a lot of recognition. I mean, you're known all around the campus. You're a good ball player. What would be young men or young women now? Women have got so many good teams. Matter of fact, I'm standing out to see the Taft girl Wildcats play Wasco because they got such a good team. So nowadays, these girls have got to have a great identity, like it used to be all the boys had great identity. My block tee sweater that the girls wanted to wear in those days. And plus it teaches you a lot of discipline.
Well, when you came to high school from Tupman, that's a very little school. Mm-hmm. How many were in your graduation class?
We had a big class that year, 9.
9? Okay. I still go out there and give the American Legion Award, and I know what you mean.
They've asked me 2 times, once as a county supervisor and once as a state legislator, to give the commencement exercise speech to graduation. I've done that a couple times.
Okay, now you came to Taft Union High School. Mm-hmm. Was that, how did you feel about this school here in comparison to where you had been?
Oh, I didn't want to go to Taft. Didn't want to be here.
You were from a small school?
Yeah, but I was more upset about this because, see, I was in the Buttonwillow Boys Club, in 7th and 8th grade, we played basketball and softball, and we played Taft High School D teams in those times, in Taft being a small school, Santa Paula Boys Club and variety clubs. And C, we played them softball. They had nice cleats and these uniforms, and us poor button little kids, we didn't have a good ball glove, nothing. I thought everybody in Taft was rich. I didn't realize it was a school that was rich, not all the kids, so I didn't want to go to all these richy kids' school. But after I got here a couple of weeks, I found that it wasn't that. It was the school was rich, which thank God it was. I didn't go for football 2 weeks later because I didn't have the money. My folks wouldn't spend money on football, shoes, and all that.
But you made friends, obviously.
Yes.
Probably some that you still correspond with and meet with.
Ed Turner, which I can't use, I nicknamed him in the 8th grade. I met him in the summer of the 8th grade. As I referred to 29G gas. Ed Turner and I have been buddies since the 8th grade. And we've kept that relationship from the 8th grade to high school, junior college, all of our lives. He's in Visalia. I was up there last week to visit he and his wife because I went to Fresno State to be on a symposium for the Ken Matty Institute of Politics for an hour and a half. And I went back to Visalia to see Ed. We've kept that relationship from the 8th grade right to this day. He and I.
Well, now you mentioned going out for sports was it 2 weeks late?
Yeah, because I didn't know anybody and I didn't have the money to buy the shoes, you know. And my parents, farmers, couldn't afford to buy football shoes and all that. Particularly my mother didn't want me to play ball.
Who talked you into going out for football?
Moon Mullins, the athletic director.
Okay. We'll talk about that when we get started again. This class period is about over, so we're going to pause here and get started again when the next class comes in. So we'll just stop at this point and let these kids go on to their 7th period class. We're started again. We paused at the end of 6th period in order to let the kids go to the next period class, and we have a new crew here. Harvey?
Fine looking group, huh?
This is Supervisor Harvey and Assemblyman Harvey, and he's my guest today. We were talking about sports, and you mentioned that Van Mullen talked you into going out for football in your freshman year.
Yes.
Now, tell us about that a little more.
Well, I came to Taft High School, as I said in the other segment. I didn't know anyone over here because I'd been raised in Button Willow Elementary School. And but as a result of a move, I moved in the Taft District when I moved to Elk Hills. And so I came here knowing no one and didn't, so I came to school and being from farm labor, we didn't have any money, and my mother didn't like football. They weren't about to buy me any football, shoes, and stuff to go out for sports. But I think Vern Mullen, athletic director, who was my PE coach, recognized this, and he got the coaches to come out and stand behind the bleachers over here and watch me play flag football or touch football at PE, and he'd have me throw to this guy and run to this. I didn't know. He just put me on display because he told me he should have me playing sports. Turned out they took me to the gym, showed me you want these high-top shoes or low-top shoes, and all that. And Jesus, I get this all free. I mean,
just like those rich kids.
Yes, just like those rich kids from Taft. I mean, I'm going to play football, I figured out. So as a result of that, Vern Mullins turned my life sort of around at that moment. Because football I did well that year, then basketball, great, baseball fair, but then it went from there. My high school, I got to be very popular, knew a lot of people, and just loved it.
We've talked about Vern Mullen, but I'd like to say a few things about him. He was a gentleman, very nice-looking man. He came from the University of Illinois. He played 3 sports back then, lettered in 3 sports. And then he played for the Chicago Bears. Hallis was the coach, I believe. George Hallis. He played with Red Grange, and he knew a lot of those people in professional football back in those days. He was an end, and he came to Taft in 1929. So he was here about 34 years, perhaps. And he's a man that they've named the gym. And I was there when that was dedicated. He was a great, great guy. Okay. You played for your freshman year. The Bobcats?
Yes. No, Gophers.
The Gophers.
Called them Gophers.
Back in those days, there was a team lower than the Bobcats.
Yeah, Gophers, Bobcats, and Wildcats.
We should mention that the boys were classified by weight and height.
Yeah, they got A's, B's, C's, and D classes, yes, in those days.
So that was the reason for these various teams that we had. And you started out with the Gophers. Then your sophomore year, I presume you went to the Bobcats.
Yes,
And you were quarterback?
Quarterback, yes.
Okay. So what do you remember about football?
Well, we had a lot of games and got a lot of buddies and good friends, and we just had a wonderful time. It was all a positive experience for me for my 4 years of football. Now, I also moved up my junior and senior year. I played varsity, and we figured out today that in my mind I'd lost a little bit. My junior year, we played for the Valley Championship in football. My senior year, I noticed we went 8-2 and lost to the regions, I guess. But my years at Taft High School were good in football, and I had a good time.
Well, I want to show you a varsity picture here. The Wildcat football in 1954 and the coaches. Okay? Now we have the team at the top, and in the middle down below is Coach Noel Curdy.
Yes.
He still lives here in Taft. On the left is Lyle Breslin, and on the right is Gene Clausen.
Yes.
Now over here where my hand is, no, excuse me, in this page here on the right, Elton Smith.
Yes.
You know about Elton Smith?
Sure, played sports with him all the way through. We didn't play basketball, but football and baseball.
You know what he's doing today?
Yes, he's a doctor back in Virginia. He was a doctor through the Navy and all that. I see him, I communicate with Elton Smith, a great person.
Well, you do?
Yeah.
Well, he's noted for his surgery. He operated on Carter, President Carter,
Yes.
and Reagan.
President, yeah, Reagan.
And then just recently, the Supreme Court Justice Bader, who had a problem with
I didn't know
kind of
he
a
did
colon.
that. Well, I'll find out this September all about that, our 45th class reunion. I'll find out.
Well, I see his mother just about every day, and I'm communicating with him too, in hopes that I get him to be interviewed one of these days.
Yeah, he'd be great. And his sister, Janice Smith, what happened to her? She was a pretty young girl.
I'm not sure I know.
Yeah, they won't be around
She's still
yet.
in California, I know.
Is that right? She's
Yeah.
a cute girl.
Okay, we talked about Jackie. You started dating her in the sophomore year. Love at first sight when you saw her at her locker. Then you had a class together. And then you mentioned basketball. Tell us about basketball.
Well, I played all 4 years of basketball. Matter of fact, people don't know this. Listen up, gang out there. I held the C class. I scored more points in any single basketball game than anybody in history of Taft High my freshman year. 19 points. That doesn't sound like a lot, but back in those days in 51, to score 19 points, when our team was scoring somewhere around 20 to 28, 29, about most you scored a whole game with it. Every time you're jumping ball, taking the ball out, they wouldn't let you play ball.
Well, I noticed here there was one game where how many points? There was a record number of points scored.
Oh, that must have been our senior basketball team. We scored 101 points or 100 points. That was a great team that year we had when we played.
That was a senior year, though.
Yeah, we played for the Valley Championship then, my senior year, and we scored 100 points twice. Once against Santa Paula, and we played Maricopa in a practice game and scored over 100 points. That was a good thing in those days.
Let's show the basketball team. This was your varsity year, right?
I'm the captain too, Pete.
I know, I was going to point that out to them. On the next page, I'll show you Captain Trice Harvey, right here in the center. Captain of the team. Well, you haven't changed much, right?
You notice one thing? Look at that.
What?
See that tattoo?
The tattoo.
I started a big race by getting my name tattooed. Everybody's going to outdo me.
I didn't know that.
They were getting knives and snakes and tigers and lions tattooed because I'd got my name tattooed at the Long Beach Pike.
Now, you were involved in other activities I saw in here. You were, what did I see? President, Boys Federation.
Yeah.
We might as well show your graduation picture here.
Yeah.
While we're in the yearbook. This is the class of 55 yearbook. Right there. Okay. Handsome devil.
Well, I wouldn't argue that.
Okay, why are you wearing a goatee?
Well, it's Eldorado coming up. I still have my West Side roots. I started bringing one in 1960 with my good one was all black.
Okay.
With my daughter who had just been born and holding up in the Eldorado outfit on. But I should have done that. Nice.
Now, you were involved in some organizations?
Yeah, well, I was an officer in the Elks Lodge for years. When I was here as the president of West Side Little League over here, and so.
In school, you were in the Block T, I presume?
Yes, I was in Block T in school.
And dances? You went to dances?
Oh yeah, I danced with the girls.
Sadie Harkins dance?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, now we talked about the varsity football, and you played the Valley Championship. Where was that game played?
Let's play at Ratcliffe Stadium in Fresno.
Right off Blackstone Boulevard.
Yes.
Who did you play?
We played Roosevelt High School.
You know, that reminds me, I pulled out an article out of the Driller. I'm going to read that to you right now. This was October 2nd, 1954. Taft Wildcats beat Garces 12-7. The Wildcats, who scored both touchdowns in the first half, held the visitors scoreless till the closing minutes before a turnout 2,400 fans. The game had hardly got underway when quarterback Trice Harvey raced for 80 yards to pay dirt.
I didn't. Can you read that again?
Raced for 80 yards to...
Do I look like I can race 80 yards now?
But a clipping penalty on the Garces 38-yard line nullified the brilliant effort.
Yeah, some of my teammates screwed up.
Now, on October 9th of that same year,
Where do you get this stuff?
the Wildcat Club ends Shafter's streak, 30-13. Harvey and Wright direct Taftians to a brilliant win. Did you cut out these articles and save them by any chance?
Jackie, I have all that in scrapbooks because of dating Jackie in school for high school and college. She cut everything out, yes. So I have those. I just haven't read them in a lot of years,
Well, you're going to hear it right now.
Okay.
Leading Taft forays into enemy territory were Sam Wright and Trice Harvey, Wildcat halfback and quarterback respectively, both of whom played brilliant ball in leading their fellows to victory. Trice Harvey, diminutive Wildcat quarterback. Now, why did you say that?
I didn't write that. I shouldn't have. I did say that a little bit. I was mean. Go ahead.
Marshaled his forces with a finesse and capability that leaves no doubt about his importance to the team. He threw a mixture of runs and passes at the Generals that kept them guessing all night. Now, as a quarterback, did you call the plays back in those days?
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't bring the play in.
Oh, occasionally they'd send one in by somebody, but
So the
not like
quarterback-
nowadays. The quarterback called them, Yeah. I got to call my plays all the time. I don't know why, but they let us call my
You're
plays.
kind of a shy guy. Now. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
told us all that, would you?
No, I'm a little bit shy, but I come on my shell for you today, Pete.
Your former teacher who gave you a beating, if you recall.
I worked hard for it.
Okay, now after graduation, what happened in June of 1955?
Well, August 5th, my wife and I got married. I just graduated high school. She just finished her junior year, so we got married. Then I went into Taft College, and she went on into her senior year here, and so we were married. She's going to high school. I'm going to Taft College. And then she finished her high school, and she worked to put me through the rest of college. I worked part-time, too, then to put me through college. So Jackie put me through school, basically. She always worked to put me through school.
Now, your last year, so when you were not living at home, you were living here in town, weren't you? At the dorm, was it?
No, my senior year, I lived in a dormitory because it was too hard to get from Tubman to Taft all the time, so I moved into the 9th Street dormitory right up here, living with the dorm guys, the JC football players. They put me through a lot of trouble, you can imagine. The senior high school guy, the junior college had a lot of fun with me because I got even with a few of them, too.
Now, that dorm doesn't exist, and it was really a barracks from Gardner Field.
Yes.
It was between the bus garage
And Mrs. Majors, Frank Majors, my brother.
Right.
Yeah. And the good thought about the dorm, me living there, I got up every morning and came down here to the same cafeteria. I went by to visit the cafeteria ladies before we got here. And I made chocolate every morning and made a lot of toast and buttered, so I got my breakfast free. And then I washed the dishes at noon to get my lunch free. My evening meal, I had to get out and hustle my evening meal.
Were you still chopping cotton at that time, or had you given that up?
No, at that point, when I got to that stage, I was in my senior year. The next summer, I worked for Sid Rowell, my buddy Sid Rowell, for the mosquito abatement district in the summer. So, and my son did later. But the good news, Mrs. and Mr. Major lived next door to it. I got a lot of good meals from Mrs. Major. Mrs. Major was a good friend of mine.
Frank Major?
Frank Major's mother, Mrs. Major.
Was he a classmate of yours?
He's a year ahead of me.
Okay.
3 years older.
And we do have a picture of Sid Rowell.
Sid Rowell, yeah. Sid Rowell was a very, very, very helpful to me through, and what, my Jackie and I through college. He taught me into, by the way, so you know, listen, he's the one that taught me into getting serious about school, and got Jackie helping me, and a guy named George Morgan, a teacher, I got to give credit, to help me.
Now, these are your two sons here.
Yeah, my son, Nick, on the left, then his son, my grandson, TJ, who will be 13 this Sunday. But Sid, I worked for him, and then Nick worked for him, and Sid was a lot of help to me, taught me in becoming a health inspector.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Now, when you and Jackie got married, where did you live at that time?
We got married. We got an apartment from Mrs. Byers, who owned the Daily Midway Driller in those days. We lived up in an apartment above the Daily Midway Driller, and my wife did typing and so forth with the driller in her senior year, because I said she's a great student.
And those apartments still exist on 4th Street?
Yeah, then we moved in the apartment up on 2nd Street behind Mr. and Mrs. Coker, Don Coker's parents. We rented for them a couple of years after that.
Now, you worked too, didn't you? In service stations, as we call it?
Well, it was called Carl Brown's Union Service Station at 6th and Center Street, which is the used car lot, I guess. I worked for him in the evenings. And I walked from there, which was Lair's, was right around the corner, remember Lair's ice cream?
Right.
And get a pint of ice cream, and walk on down and go upstairs. And that was living for Jackie and I. Get a little pint of ice cream or so and eat it and watch a little TV and high living.
Now, you were going to JC.
You were going to high school.
You were playing
Football.
college football as quarterback. And you were also playing on the basketball team.
Yes, football and
So
basketball.
we have a picture of that. Could you point out some of the people on this one?
Well, he's there. That's me, obviously. Me, and this is Leon Parent, who's still around here. Dick Walsh, I haven't seen in a while. Jim Gordy is over Santa Barbara. I see him now and then. And I'm not sure behind there, I thought it was going to be Bob Hampton, but you should be able to see Bob Hampton
This
better.
was junior college, and you were playing. Have you any idea who you were playing?
Yes, that was Point Magoo, that Navy base over there, yeah.
Okay.
It was at Taft Gymno, we were home.
So you were doing work in junior college. Now, after graduation from JC, which occurred when?
1958.
58.
Because I went up to Cal Berkeley in 58 in September.
And you majoring in?
School of Public Health.
Okay. And then you went to another college, as I recall.
Yes, it's a long story, but I came back and graduated from Fresno State, Bakersfield Extension. So I got my BA degree from Fresno State in life science. Supposed to teach life sciences, but when I stayed in the field of public health for 10
So
years.
when did you graduate from Fresno State?
I think it's 1962 or 3 where I got it done.
Well, after graduation from the college, what did you do?
I continued working as a health inspector for the county of Kern and put in 10 years there. Then I quit there. I went into pharmaceutical and medical sales for 10 years. And then I ran for the Kern County Board of Supervisors, served there 10 years. And then after doing that, I also I ran for the State Assembly, served there 10 years. And the governor appointed a couple of jobs at Agricultural Labor Relation Board for a year, California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board for a year. Then I came back, sold my condo, and came back from Sacramento about a year and a half ago.
Your first office in politics, where was that?
Rosedale School Board. I ran for the Rosedale School Board where I lived, and it's a one school one-room school, high school Jackie's Ralph Arnold graduated from. And they only had one school, and it was growing like mad. People are going out there, so I was there. I was the president of the board when we built Rosedale North, and then I ran for the board of supervisors, and then it's all grown since I did. It was a great school.
You ran for the board of supervisors from our district here.
Yes, sir.
They named a street for you.
Yeah, yeah. If you go down Lincoln down to the county building, you'll see Trice Harvey Avenue. It's a half a street, half a block long.
Half a block.
About half a block.
It dead ends.
It dead ends. Yeah, it's not much.
Then you ran for the assembly,
Yes.
state assembly from our district,
Yes.
and you won that election. What year was that?
86 when I ran that.
86, and you were there for
5 terms, which was 10 years. Term limits, when people passed term limits to Mississippi, well, 96 I could no longer run for the assembly, so I had to get out.
Now, what was political life like? What obligations, what pressures and...
A lot of pressure, but a lot of excitement. You're involved in everything. As a school board member, like my good friend Les Clark here, he has the Taft High School district that he worries about. But then if you move like I did from Rosedale School to the county of Kern, even though you're 4th district, you got to worry about the whole county of Kern issues. You're involved in them as a vote. Well, when you in the state legislature, you're involved in everything in the state as a vote. So your horizons are expanding, much more involvement, much more issues. And I really loved it all. I loved what I was doing. Would still been there if I hadn't been termed out, but I loved what I did.
You must have gotten a lot of communication from your constituents.
Oh, yes.
All along, they let you know.
Oh, yes.
On any subject.
Yes. Some made it very clear what they felt.
Well, you're the first student from Taft High that ever reached a state office, as I recall.
Yes, that's my recollection. Obviously, the first one from Buttonville or Elk Hills that ever reached that issue, and I think, as a matter of fact, the first one from Taft High, and I think even Taft College had ever been held a state office.
Now, you mentioned that you were appointed to 2 appointive offices, and that was by the governor,
Yes.
right? Governor
Pete Wilson.
Pete Wilson. So you served on 2 boards at his request.
Yeah, his sole appointment, yes.
Now, you had to live in Sacramento as well as maintain a home here.
I had my home here in Rosedale, and then I have a condo 2 blocks from the Capitol I bought up there, so I had my condominium there. But I flew up Monday mornings, and I flew back Thursday evening. And my wife said that because of my Dinah and Nick's here and their family and grandkids, it was routine. I went up Monday mornings, spent Monday day, spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night in Sacramento in my condo, then got home for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night in Rosedale, and so I was here Friday, Saturday, Sunday days. So it was just a routine.
Well, you mentioned flying. Was this commercial planes or?
Yes, and no, I was lucky all the time that I flew. You could fly commercial back and forth. But I flew a year or 2 of those with Don Rogers, his private plane, just because it's simpler. And with a guy, Senator Dick Mountjoy from Monrovia, he'd drop down with his Mooney and take me sometimes. But I flew a couple of years private.
Well, you eventually got out of Sacramento, and I presume you sold the condo,
Yes, I did.
and now
I'm home.
you're home. Okay. You're over here on the west side fairly often. I see you.
Well, yes.
Recently, we attended the Fort Preservation Society's annual dinner, which was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
Well,
I like my plaque, too. It's a nice plaque.
That's right, you got a plaque on that. Now, we'll kind of sum it up here. You have a varied life of employment. You attended a number of schools. How do you sum up your life so far?
Well, it's been a very enjoyable life for me. I liked everything I've done from a health inspector, and I'm still a registered environmental health specialist with the state, so I could go in that field, and I just haven't done it. So all the jobs I've had, I loved them. Everything I've done, I've enjoyed, and my wife, my children, my grandchildren, it's great. They've all been here. I've never been separated from them, as many families are separated from the kids and grandkids. My life has been a very good one, and I should say, Jackie may not even say this. We don't get this channel, but the fact that I married Jackie at a very young age, which is the best thing ever happened to me. She's a good student, taught me just be a student, and is a good mother, good wife, and 45 years have been really good thanks to my wife, Jackie Stussy.
Well, that's really nice, and she is a very nice person.
You say that, and Noel Curdy is surprised that my wife, Jackie Dewey, she was so bashful back in those days. And Curdy's always amazed. He became a Republican Central Committee person and elected as the president of the Central Committee of Kern County and ran around the state speaking to groups. Noel Curdy to this day can't believe that Jackie came out of her shell could do that.
You probably don't know, but I was appointed to the State Democratic Central Committee.
I knew that, but I didn't hold that against you. I've always liked you, Pete.
That was quite an experience.
Yes, it is.
Now, you are much involved with your classmates.
Yes.
The class of 55. In fact, I have your reunion booklet. This was, I don't even know when this was.
Yeah.
55.
Yeah, myself and Norma Robinson.
1990.
Yeah, you're city clerk. Norma Robinson, I are the co-chairmen for the reunion committee for this year. We've had several meetings. We're going to have another one pretty quick, and we set the date September the 16th is our 45th class reunion here in Taft.
So this is a pretty typical reunion booklet. Everybody who's there has a picture taken, and you mentioned the people who are deceased. And there's a directory of all your classmates.
Yes.
At least those that...
and we've lost a few since that, too.
Right.
So we're at that age.
Well, you're going to have a reunion pretty quick. You're ready for our Oil Dorado. We have a few more pictures. We might show those before we leave here. Now, you explain these pictures as I hold them up. Now, who is this?
Well, and actually that's Tom Young, better known as Buster Young. He's still out in Tubman. This is my stepfather who raised me in later life, and he's still out there, good man, very good to me. He's a farm laborer. He's also retired, but he's still there.
Now, we have a picture that was taken where?
Actually, that picture is taken in Buttonwillow, and the guy beside you is still out at Buttonwillow. They call it Blaine Willard, Plain Blaine, mechanic for farm. And that was the first big sign that went up Trice Harvey for supervisor back in 1976. So that's why we had that as the first sign to go up.
We have another campaign shot here.
That's definitely local there. So
tell us about this.
And that was that little Baja bug that ran around all through the campaign. Red, white, and blue, as you recall, the Trice Harvey for supervisor. But this is Mike Sargent, a great athlete, guard at Taft High School. Mike Sargent, Taft High School and Taft College. This is Gene Armstrong, tackle, came out from Texas. This is Don Jameson, unfortunately, passed away. That's Anita Jameson's husband. Oh, yes. We're married, remember. To Pat Jameson, my buddy, so she didn't change it. And this is Choo-Choo Kessler, Bob Kessler, a great guard at high school and college, and me with black hair and only one chin. That was 76. They were involved in formally during my campaign anyway.
We have two more pictures here, and we'll show these.
That, as a chairman of the Kern County Board of Supervisors there, and of the 10 years as I was a chairman 3 times, so that's when I was a chairman of the Board of Supervisors at the time. That was, I don't remember which paper it was in.
And now we have one. You've stepped up.
Oh, yeah, that's in front of the state capitol at L Street in Sacramento in '86 when I was into the general campaign. We went to cut some commercials, you know, and we took at least 50 of those. I just got one. Yeah, that's the state capitol.
That is it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
We'll say that we've certainly enjoyed having you here twice. We're very proud of what you've accomplished.
Well, I'm proud, as I tell people jokingly for years, and you know, they go, I'm not your average dummy, I'm a Taft High School graduate. And so I tell people, I've been really nice. I like Taft High School, and I love Taft College. And I would like to, if I may, Mr. Gianopulos, I forgot to thank the other class. I want to thank this class of students for what they're doing here for the community.
Thank you. We've enjoyed having you here, and our time is about up. So this concludes another Taft Heritage. We hope that you enjoyed our program. I wish to thank my guest and former student, Trice Harvey, former supervisors, former assemblyman, former many things, quarterback of our teams here. We hope that you'll be with us again when we bring you another Taft Heritage as we continue to explore our very interesting rich and interesting heritage here in Taft. And we'll close, and I'll say, on behalf of Trice and myself, for Taft Heritage, we thank you for watching.